GHRT Rewinds are brought to you by Laughlin and Wolfington Team. Your home sold guaranteed realty. Find out what your home is worth online instantly at laughlinwolfingtonrealty.com. George joining us again in Belfast this morning. I say Belfast. Tammy, are you in Belfast indeed this morning?
Yes, I am.
I thought. Tammy Lacher Scully. As we mark the second anniversary of Tammy's son's disappearance, Graham Lacher. She's on line 3 to talk with us this morning about the continued and hopeful search for her son on GHRT.
Yeah, good morning, Tammy. Always nice to, even though it's a circumstance we wish didn't occur, it's still nice to have you on. Yesterday was, I was thinking about it a little bit. We were celebrating D-Day yesterday. It was 80 years ago. It hasn't been 80 years for you, but yesterday was, 2 years for you going through what you are going through?
Yes. Yesterday was the 2-year anniversary of Graham's disappearance from the Dorothea Dix Psychiatric Facility in Bangor.
And as you have told us, Graham has been meeting challenges and was there for help and then bolted. And the search has got many people reaching out to help you in the search. Trying to accentuate the positive here, Tammy.
Well, we do try to do that every day for sure, because it's the only way to keep going is to appreciate all the support and help that we've received from many, many people, businesses, organizations, ordinary individual citizens who have joined us in this search and helped us enormously. We definitely appreciate that.
Graham is 39 now? Am I correct?
Yes.
Yeah. He survived, you hope, over these 2 years. His appearance may have changed. One of the questions that I thought of, do you feel, all the people Rick mentioned helping, yes, but back to the beginning, when he was diagnosed and he was in the homes, did he get the proper care, or do you have some doubt that he was ever given what he needed?
Well, the sad reality, and I don't think this is unique to Maine, is that we don't offer enough appropriate and proper services for the seriously mentally ill. And Graham, I do believe we were able to obtain the best available for him. But one of the things that, stands out in my mind is that he was in a group home that was really too big, too noisy for someone with his diagnosis. The staff there was great. They did everything they could, but it really wasn't the best placement for Graham. And we don't know really what was going on in his mind, but he did ask repeatedly to be moved to a smaller, quieter place that wasn't so rural, and there just wasn't anything available for him. So at the point of discharge from the last hospitalization there in DDPC Bangor, the plan was if we still could not find a group home that he was comfortable in, he would return and live in the apartment with that's attached to our house. My husband and I have an apartment attached to our house that he used to live in. His desire was to live, on his own as an adult, away from family. And so the group home was an option that he chose. He chose not to live all alone on his own. So we were trying to cobble together the best possible services and care for Graham, support for Graham that we could. There is evidence that, the reason he ran may not have been related to any of that. When I did ask him one time why he had run from the group home, he wrote, because he wasn't speaking aloud at the time, he wrote he had an unofficial summons from the nether realm. To me and to his psychiatrist, that indicates non-reality-based decision-making for his actions. And I think that is a little difficult for the public to grasp because he's also very intelligent and very talented. But real-world skills and decision making that's truly in his best interest are things that are definitely a challenge for him.
You had told us before that Graham is sharp. He's an avid reader, likes to be alone, needs his medication to know that he needs his medication. And it's inevitable that a listener would write to us, is it just that he does not wish to be found?
Well, sure, that seems clear, but if your thinking is not reality-based, your reasons for not wanting to be found can be extremely dangerous to you. These are voices that compel him to do things that are not in his actual self-interest, but that because of his delusions and his disordered thinking from schizophrenia, he believes are in his best interest. So that is, I often think that people are applying a rationale that a person without serious mental illness would use in this situation, like, I just want to be on my own, leave me alone. But with someone whose decision-making is not reality-based, it becomes a whole different scenario. We would not expect a child to make that decision. We would not expect a senior citizen suffering from dementia or Alzheimer's to be left alone to make that decision. We would step in and make sure that they were safe. And that's what we're trying to do with my son, Graham.
We've asked many of these questions before, and here on the second anniversary, we almost forced to ask them again. I know there was the hat issue that was the last time you had any sign of him. How do you feel he has been able to survive without money, without medicine, these 2 years, if he has survived?
Well, I'll tell you, I take a lot of heart from stories of other men similar to Graham with similar issues who have managed to survive just eking out an existence as a homeless person. And because of Graham's disappearance, I'm aware of these stories. People send them to me, or I find them in my research and reading. But the most likely scenario we can paint, the one that gives us the most hope, is that because Graham is kind of hanging back, possibly because of his diagnoses, but because he's intelligent, he knows how to access resources, he might be getting help when he needs it most. We've traveled the entire state at this point. We're very familiar with the kind of services that are available to homeless people, and it's a common thing in many of the cities of Bangor that food is handed out, people stand in line, they get their meal, they take it away. Graham would be able to do that and not necessarily be socializing or engaging with people, but aware enough that he could get the food that he needs. We have warming centers set up across the state that when weather gets extremely cold, people are allowed in. These are low barrier, no barrier. You don't have to have ID. You don't have to talk. You could just go in, stay warm until the next day. And then also, George, is the possibility that this is occurring in another state close by, just across our borders, or even the possibility that he's managed to cross into Canada. So we also spent time up there interacting with police and homeless services, hoping if he does show up at any of their facilities, we'll be contacted. So there is a scenario that allows us to believe he could still be managing to survive, accessing services and necessary things when he needs them, but not necessarily forming bonds or staying long even, perhaps, at any of these places.
As we approach the final moments, at least in this conversation, and Tammy, I'm sorry that I did not mark on the calendar. I knew the 6th of June was the date. Should have reached out to you, but still privileged to have you on the day after. How do we help?
Well, the most important thing right now, I feel like it's kind of our Hail Mary pass. We asked our Facebook followers on Missing Graham Lacher Facebook page, what can we do that we haven't done? And what kind of percolated or bubbled up out of that conversation was to ask businesses that during our busy summer season, just pump out a lot of to-go orders, any kind of order that gets picked up by a customer. Would they please put a little Post-it note on that order so that we will get new eyeballs on our search? We want the tourists who come to Maine, we want to take advantage of the fact that Maine is vacation land, and there'll be many people here who have not heard of Graham yet. We know that there are many people in our state who still have not heard about Graham, and this would be a way to sort of flood people's consciousness here in the summer when there's so much activity and so many people in our state. So any business that is willing to do that, please contact me at Missing Graham Lacher, and we will get you batches of these Post-it notes to slap on a pizza box or a to-go coffee cup or a clamshell with a hot meal in it or a bag in a store that goes out with orders, anything, any busy place that customers grab something and go. We'd love to have one of our Post-it notes on there. Has a QR code that brings you to our Facebook page. It has Graham's picture, explains the basic information that people need to know, and we'd really like to get that up and running this summer.
Tammy, thank you so much for being with us today, and good luck to you. We will not quit. We'll be back with you, and you'll be back with us. I'm sure you'll be in contact with Rick.
Thank you very much.
GHRT Rewinds are brought to you by Laughlin and Wolfington Team, your home sold guaranteed realty. Find out what your home is worth online instantly at laughlinwolfingtonrealty.com.